This is Plan in Traffic, where we do this every Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, and I'm doing it remotely from Texas. And probably the next couple of weeks, you'll be seeing me on the road hitting Plan in the Traffic. And if you want to support our channel, feel free to hit the little QR code there, and you can buy something from our store that will help our channel and help us keep it on the road. What's up, Ray?
Good, Lewis. We had a little complaint last week when we were looking. After you left, we went on full screen. The QR code and the hat was like, I think it was Vince. It was like it blocked him out. He's like, "Can you take that thing down?" I'm like, "No, I can't." I said that's embedded. Lewis put that up there. I can't do it.
Oh, actually, do you see the media on the side, on the right side?
To the right side is the chat.
Oh, okay. It has
Media assets. I see. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, go there, and you just go down and click it.
Oh, so if I click like this.
Yep.
There we go. I got you. Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Learned something. That's what I love about this show. I'm always learning something new.
Yeah. You never know.
Nice.
So this week I am I'm just south of Dallas.
Right.
And we stopped at Dallas Stroker, Rick Fairless,
right,
motorcycle builder. We stopped at his place. I met Paul and his mom there for lunch.
Okay.
Great lady. I don't know where he came from, but she's great. So yeah, we ate lunch there. Then we talked to Rick for a little bit, and we went our ways.
Now, I just write myself a note so I don't forget. Rick, I remember seeing him on the Bike and Build Offs and on your Discovery Channel shows, and he seemed like such a cool, laid-back guy.
Yep.
Does his real persona disappoint, or is he just as cool and laid back as he was on TV?
Cool and laid back. So we ate lunch, then we went over to another part of his building where he has his store.
Right.
And so my camera goes off on the bus because I parked the bus in the parking lot. So my camera goes off, and I see him walking by the bus.
Right.
So I go out, to show him, but he had walked in the door. He goes, "Oh man, that's a cool bus over there." And he goes, so we started talking about the bus and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He liked it a lot.
Yeah, very good. That's nice.
So his store is really nice, man, because he has some bikes that he's built and some other types of bikes, and it was like a variety of different stuff.
Right. Now,
nice leather stuff, nice, his clothes for sale.
Yeah. For the people that don't know, he still does stuff kind of like 60s, 70s style. He's a big fan of the 60s, 70s chopper and road bike kind of stuff, and that's that's his thing, which is great. I love it when guys don't do what's like, even the Bike and Build Offs. They were building, Paul Jr.'s up there with these giant wheel things, and
right.
Who's the other guy? Another guy from
Billy Lane.
Yeah, and I like
Brothers.
Rick Phillips came in and just built like a tie-dye chopper, and Billy Lane, he built one of his classic choppers. It's like, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I miss those, man. I wish they'd bring them back.
Yeah, I think I have them on VHS tape. I used to record them.
Oh yeah.
That was good stuff. Yeah, because if you're into bikes, that was really, they were talking to us. That was, if you built stuff, it was a perfect demographic for that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So, I was going to go down to see Joe and Amanda Martin, but they're too far down the hill, man. It's hot down here. I got to get out of Texas.
They're way down the bottom?
Yeah, they're in close to Austin.
Well, Texas is not a small state. I know that. It's big.
And it's too hot, man. I got to get out of here. As soon as I see my grandkids, I'm going to kiss them and I'm out.
Right. See you later. Bye.
Yeah. Beautiful state, though. We're just bouncing around, and we're at a Harvest Host campsite. It's at people's properties, on their properties.
Okay.
And they have longhorn cows. Man, it's pretty cool. I've never
Wow.
seen one up close, but they're pretty cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I guess how does that work? In the community, you guys all connect. You have some kind of a central place you can find people when you're traveling, see them around.
Well, what it is, it's an app. It's called Harvest Host, and
Okay,
you pay a month, you pay a yearly fee, which is real cheap, $100 or something,
right,
and you can go on and find places where you're going, and the host will host their property. So it could be a farm, it could be a business, it could be anything like that. And
got it.
we're on an actual ranch right now,
Right, right,
and so the people that are hosts, they also travel and they use Harvest Host.
right, right,
So they know the whole deal and the hookup. Some places have water and electric. Some places just boondock. You know.
right.
Yep.
So, does you think it gets to the point where if you're being hosted most of the time, you feel a little guilty about not having a host spot at home for other people?
Well, well, no, because you pay for the service. You know what I mean?
Okay, all right,
So you pay your yearly subscription. So
okay.
and
And
we've been meeting.
I'm sure it's reasonable, right?
Yes, I think it's like $100 for a year.
Oh, that's great. That's nothing. Yeah, you can blow it out in an afternoon.
Yeah, and the people have been great, man. Like we were just on the porch with this host, and there's another couple here that's camping, and just sitting around talking. They had bonfires and feed us. They fed me. You know what I mean?
Nice. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty set up.
No, it's very nice. That's cool.
Yep, everybody's been nice. We probably stayed at maybe 10 different places, and
That's
everything's been great.
I'll show you something. I got them up here somewhere. Oh, I got it. Where the hell is it? I don't know where I put it.
You got too much stuff. You gotta get rid of some stuff.
Oh, I sure do. Well, I finally did. I got rid of them from the BMW Owners Association for the motorcycle. They put out a book every year, and it lists all the members, and you can under your listing, you can put down if you're available for services. Like if you can tow somebody, if you have a pickup truck with a ramp, if you have a trailer, if you can host someone at your house, if you just it was K&K, it was just like coffee and talk or whatever,
Right.
just to talk about stuff. And people who are traveling would carry that book. I mean, now I'm sure I still
Online.
have it. It's probably digital. But yeah, as you're traveling through the country, if you get stuck, you can look up whoever's nearest to where you're at and say, hey, I'm a member. I need a hand. I see you listed. You could, you got a trailer. Can you pick me up?
Right.
And, guys will, whatever level of service they can help provide. And so, yeah, I guess that's the thing. When you have groups like that are specific,
Right.
people take care of each other.
Yeah, it works out pretty good. Pretty nice,
Yeah.
nice community. Yep.
Right, right.
Yep. So you're heading to North Carolina?
Yes. Head into Charlotte, 743 miles. I'm going to take
Yeah.
the western route. I'm going to go through Jersey, PA. We just clip West Virginia, which means we just miss Ohio, of course, and then you just shoot straight down. So West Virginia, right through Virginia, which is, I hate that stretch, and then
Yeah.
literally takes you right into the center bullseye of Charlotte. And my daughter is down off, to the southeast of that. So
I really like Charlotte. That's a pretty city. I like it a lot.
it is, and it's very diverse. There's a lot. I mean, there's rural. There's still farmland down there. You have the city, which is called Uptown, not downtown. It's Uptown. So they do have the actual city. There's a stadium there and a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, a lot of stuff. And I'm actually going to be looking at a house in South Carolina because Southern Charlotte is just over the border. You drive 20 minutes, you're in South Carolina. So I'm looking at a property there that I got my eye on. I tell you, I may come back leaving a deposit. I don't know. We'll see.
Uh-oh.
And then this place I'll have to deal with this later. But yeah, I may carry the totem for a while. I may have to go back to having a mortgage again.
Yeah.
But that's the deal. When you're looking at a house, unless they can hang on to it and they're not in a rush, you got to be able to move. And I'm really not in that position,
Yeah.
truly. But
Yeah.
we'll see. If the stars align, I'll be good.
You'll know for sure when you get that feeling. You'll know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
or when the wife gets the billing.
Yeah.
That's the
Exactly.
key.
Exactly.
All right, let's get the fellas in and see what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Yeah, it's
Hey.
Brian.
What's up, fellas?
Bob Squirrel, Jim. What's up, boys?
Man, just one hell of a week.
Yeah. Hot, right?
Yeah. Hot.
Yeah.
The rain has been intense. I mean,
We just got
we've
hit.
had like, I mean, you can't even see across the street how heavy the rain. I mean, trees, power's been out. I mean, it's just been a mess. Hell, I mean, we've had it all down here, dude.
Wow.
You sure you don't live in a rainforest?
I tell you, man, it is terrible. You sweat all day. And
No, it's a swamp.
Yeah, it is a swamp, dude. It's terrible. You sweat all day, and then the wind picks up, and you're like, oh, it feels nice. And all of a sudden, the heavens open up, and you're wet and terrible. I mean, it's just.
You might as well go back to Carlisle.
Yeah, might as well. At least I can have fun bringing home stuff.
You brought it down with you.
Yeah, I tell you, man, it's been, I guess, the last 3 days or whatever. But
You know, a friend of mine runs a very popular radiator shop and a restoration shop. He drove down to Carlisle from here in a Ford with his grandson, and he said, "Yeah, we had to sit for like 45 minutes or more in the car just waiting for the downpour to pass." You know,
yeah,
and then we got out and walked down. But you probably walked by him because he was in the Ford section too.
yeah,
yeah.
It's funny. After the couple days, you know, there's that guy that does that barn find.
Right.
He was there. I was hoping to run into him because, like I said, I like watching his stuff. And there was a couple other guys. I cannot believe how many videos I watched. And some of them were there. I mean, some of it was going on while we were there because, you know, they'd say Saturday morning, you know, it's raining at 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, we were there.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was watching one with Molly the other day, and she's like, I remember we walked right past that guy. You know, It's like how we didn't even get on the, you know, get filmed or whatever. You know, it was just missing. But I mean, like I said, so much stuff. And then it was funny watching the video because I know, like, there was a guy that had a Boss 302. I guess it came out of a wrecked one, and he had the motor and trans. He was selling for like $25,000. You know,
Ooh, wow.
And I remember the trailer and everything, and I didn't even, you know, I saw the motor, but I didn't see that he had, you know, the trans and the rear. He had the whole drivetrain.
Okay.
You know, so it was kind of interesting going back watching some stuff. You miss. There's just so much going on. I mean, you miss so much stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think you see it all, but you don't.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted $25,000. I think he had the whole drivetrain.
Wow.
From that, I think it was a '69 Boss 302.
Wow. I just watched one of his videos just right before I came down. He visited a guy in Tennessee who's a GTO collector, and he just brought in another original unmolested Judge. So he does.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yep, it was like a 70, right?
Yeah, it's kind of cool because the way he does his videos, it's kind of the way we do the radio show. Like if I'm talking about something that's, you know, a little more in depth or something that only guys who would work on that stuff would understand, Chris will come right in and he'll just ask me, hey, well, what does that mean? Or what's it? He'll ask those simple questions. I mean, maybe because he doesn't know, but maybe if he does know, it's maybe really just so that it'll stop you and you can clarify, because there's always somebody watching it who doesn't know.
Right.
You know? So you kind of balance out, you know, each other like that. And he does.
When I watched that barn guy, I didn't even realize, you know, they had, it was the 20th anniversary for the GT40s.
Okay.
And I remember walking through the tent and looking at all the GT40s, and they had, I saw the guy. It was Joey GT, I guess that's what they call him, or that's what his handle is on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that's just, all the knowledge. He wrote a book with all the VIN numbers and option. He's just got one of those guys that has all the information. He's just, and I didn't realize, but I saw the car and it was trashed. I mean, it was in really bad shape, but that was like number one prototype. That they found and saved, and like I said, going back, I was like, man, I saw a lot of stuff and I didn't realize how interesting, or how some of the stuff was really special. I mean, it's just not everyday run of the mill stuff,
Right.
So, but that's what I like about that guy. He gets really good info, or he really breaks it down.
Yeah. Nah, interesting. Cool stuff.
Yeah, pretty cool. So I went to I stayed at Paul's house a couple of days, like 3 days. Real nice area, man. He got a nice spot down in Texas.
Yeah.
Got a nice little garage.
Did he put you to work out in the shop or what?
Oh, he tried, but it was too hot. I ran back in the bus, man. I was like, bro, I see it. Hey, this hot down here is a different kind of hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look. That's where the birds would be out here playing around.
I know.
So,
I don't know. I'm going to be driving right into it, man. I don't know what I'm doing. I got a van full of tools. I got about 6 or 8 tote bags filled with tools. I got my big snap-on floor jack in the back of the thing. It's like torque wrenches, socket sets. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be working outside. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You're going to die.
Yeah. Well, it's for my daughter, so you got to make those concessions.
You're still going to die.
Well, really, all I have to do this time is like 2 tire rotations, so it's not too bad. I'll jack up half that vehicle. She said that everything else was done. Well, she does have a check engine light, so I brought a bag full of scanners and all of that. So I think she needs a cat, but I'll look at that. And literally, I'll just get that truck. I'll get under the RAV right in the middle, and I'll just jack up the whole side of it. That's it. I only jack it up, the car twice. Once side by side.
Yeah.
And
it was crazy because I started Father's Day with Brianna and her 5 nails and 1 tire. That was a cluster. And ended up having to put 2 new tires on her car. That was Monday.
Right.
And then we did her birthday dinner and all that stuff. Tuesday, I'm driving down 29. It's a interstate type road. It's 3 lanes, 4 lanes across on both sides. And I'm cruising along, minding my own business. And all of a sudden I hear this cut. And the side window blows out of the tool truck.
No shit.
Glasses everywhere. I'm like, what the hell just happened?
You talking about the door window?
Yeah, door window just blew out.
Right, okay.
And I have no idea. So I'm driving around. So I'm picking glass out of my hair. I got glass all over in my pocket. I mean, just the whole truck is filled with glass.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how that happened. I don't even know where that went.
Wow.
So I came home, finished my day, came home. Of course, we got these rainstorms that, are just out of control. And so I came home, dug around, found a piece of plexiglass, and took the measurements from the other window, got it. Cut frame, cut, trim, check, put, cut. I went through about 8 times. The very last time I was like, man, it's so close. I just got to do a little bit more. It'd be perfect. Man, I went to pull it out, snap that plexiglass. I was like, man, I should have just left it alone.
I mean,
so I got it, put it in. It's in the truck. I took some tape and put on there, and I'm supposed to have some glass delivered maybe I think tomorrow. So
yeah, I was gonna say you got to get that fixed for security reasons.
Oh yeah, man, it was crazy when that thing blew out. I'm surprised I didn't wreck the truck. It was so loud when that thing blew out when the glass. I don't know if there was. I don't know if something came up and hit it and just hit it just right, or if there was a hairline. So I don't know, man. I mean,
I think I told you it was a couple of months ago. I jump in the FJ with my wife. We had to go somewhere, and I get on the highway. I get right to the right lane because there's an entrance ramp to get onto the parkway. So just as I'm doing that, I hear sirens, like an ambulance. I'm like, oh shit, where? I'm looking, there's nothing behind me, and I see the guys coming the other way. I'm like, oh, no problem. He's on the other side of the highway. Well, the guy does a U-turn over all 4 lanes, and now he is behind me. So I jump, I'm on the entrance ramp, and I just pull it right over onto the median that's, dirt and grass. And I'm only doing like 25 miles an hour. And I heard boom, and the whole left side of the truck jumps up. I'm like, what was that? So I stop, the ambulance goes by. I get out and I look, and through my floorboard, I have the round tubular ones. There's an explosion that came up from the bottom, like somebody shot it's about a hair, like the size of a shotgun shell from the bottom, and the top of the board is just like it was shot. I was like, what the hell did I run over? A landmine? Like an ID? I don't know what it was. And I couldn't find any signs. There's no signs of a burn mark or like if it was shot. I don't know what it was. I'm looking on the tires. Did I kick it up? I wasn't going that fast. I was only going like 25 miles an hour. But now I got this nice half-inch hole. It's like, wow.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Buddy, yeah. Cool shit.
So I've been
everybody's Father's Day.
Well, that was
it was
good.
okay, except changing a tire and costing me.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you hear what I was saying in the beginning of the show, Brian, about my picking up this Pacifica today?
No.
I was just telling Lewis, I go to get the Pacifica. I see it's in the wash bay. They're cleaning it up. I said, okay, good. I asked for a minivan because I knew I was going to be carrying a lot of stuff. And, now we got 3rd row seating, so I can put everybody in. We go out to dinner or whatever. And guy pulls it out. The guy inside says, all right, we just got to check something. He says, I think there might have been like a slow leak on the one tire, but my tire guy is here. He's going to take a look at it. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So he's looking at it. I kind of wander over. And I see the guy on the ground with the reamer. He's reaming the tire, plugging it. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So now we do the walk around, to check for damage. And I'm in the back of the thing. And I'm like, this man doesn't have a spare tire, right? He goes, oh no, I don't think so. He goes, I think it's got run flats. I'm like, run flats? I said, and the guy is plugging a run flat. And he's like, oh yeah, he's done it before. I said, that doesn't mean it's right. I said, and it's not right. So my wife is bugging me. She's like pulling me, like, let's take it out. Let's take the road. Let's take the road. And I'm like, no, I need the space. It's like, flats be damned. I said, we may be on the side of the highway, but we're going to have this damn minivan. So I got a minivan in my driveway it's not, and it ends up, it doesn't have run flats. I didn't know. So.
Yeah.
We'll be doing 80.
Yeah, I'd gotten the tire, and of course, like I said, I find one now, and then I find like 3 and none of them just went straight in. They all had to go at different angles,
What'd you do? Go over a construction site or something?
I don't know. I mean, it was, on the passenger side rear. So it would be, if she got too close to the curb, it would be, on the or on the shoulder, it would have been, that way. It would have been that tire.
So somebody dumped something, yeah.
So, and I had to get my, I'm not a plug guy. I don't really like them, but I have them for emergencies. And so I get my little kit out, and I'm reaming and jamming in there, pulling, and man, I'm fighting this thing.
Yeah.
And I had one of them was pretty bad where I had to use 2, because all I want to do is I didn't want to put the spare on. I just want to get the tires. So it held there, then I go get tires for it. I didn't want to go because that means cleaning the trunk out. That means, finding all that stuff. And 95% of the time, what's wrong? The spare's flat anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Well, then you get them both fixed.
and like I said, I know, well, of course, I do check them, and I do put air in them. So I had to maybe say 5%. I'm a little, but so sure enough, I get it all back and get the air, put the air pressure in, and Brianna had taken the car and taken her car, and she came back and she goes, well, the little tire light came back on again.
Okay.
And I went out and sprayed it down, and sure enough, one of the plugs kept leaking. Of course, I tried to, no matter what I did, it just, it was pretty bad. So I said, okay, out comes the spare, get it all. And I said, you have your car, you got a spare on it. Just, Monday I'll call Pete and we'll get the tires all straightened out and blah, blah, blah. So
right.
Did that. But yeah, I hate tires, unfortunately, are like my nemesis, man. I fight. I mean,
Yeah.
if I don't have a tire problem with the tool truck, I got a tire problem with my John Deere. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like tires and me just do not get along.
Right.
I'm always messing with some type of tire issue, one way or the other.
It's like we were talking about on Sunday's show, where my Mazda, the beater I noticed that it was losing air in the right rear tire. I'm like, all right, so I aired it up, and then I caused sits for another like a week, and I went out and the tire was flat. I'm like, all right, so I air it up, and I pull it off and I look, and I'm like, wow, I don't see anything fresh. I don't see anything shiny, nothing. So I start looking, and I see an old plug that I had put in. I use those mushroom style plugs.
Yeah.
I've never had one fail. The only time I had one not work was when the cut in the tire was like oblong. It wasn't round. And then I tried even two of them and it didn't work. So I see this old plug. So let me see what happens. I get some of the soapy water and I spray it, and sure enough, it's leaking from the plug. So that's what sent me to Harbor Freight. I said, Lewis, on the show, I had to go to Harbor Freight, and I was looking for the Matco man in the parking lot, but I guess all Matco guys don't go to Harbor Freight.
Yeah.
So, because I had those gluey goose strips I had, I used one of them, but it fell in the tire. So I tried the second one, and it actually held. So I wanted to get another set of them to put in the plug kit, to put in the van to take with me. Because I got to actually fix my daughter's tire when I get down. That's what I got to do. I got a tire to fix. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a mess. Like I said, I think even, the rims that you sent, that I put the tire that I put on, it was funny because I took that over to my buddy's shop and, I sand the end, I cleaned. I got to be so like, I got to clean the tire, I'm clean, I'm like getting all the stuff, put it all in, put it all together. Look, and I think it was like 3 days later, the tire was flat.
Really?
I'm like, man, what is so? Sure enough, I take it off, I throw it in the tool truck. Wednesday, I go over to my buddy's shop. And he goes, is that another one? And I said, no, this one's I don't know, man. It's leaking or something. It must be a leak someplace. And I said, I got to take a look. And he said, all right, I'll look at it in a minute. And I said, no, I'll look at it. You got your shit to do. Don't worry. And one of the other guys comes over and says, man, don't get dirty. I'll do it. So he did. I didn't know what was wrong with it, but it's been holding air ever since. So it's just me touching the tire.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it does. I'm terrible with anything with those tires.
I mean, I tell you, I know that you want to use your Convo Pros and all, but I think those rims will look bitching on that car. Really, I think
looks good.
Look great. Even a set of those on the front and a set of black Steelies on the back with a set of like cheetah slicks. That'd be hot. That'd be really cool.
Well, I will tell you one thing. I do change. I mean, it might have that look one day.
Yeah, make a hose reel out of them, whatever.
No, it might have that look. Don't worry, because like I said, I that's one thing that I have tons of them laying around. I have so many different tires laying around. I always change tires left and right. So
speaking of OPG, I finally got an email. My seat brackets have shipped.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but no
Yeah.
seats yet.
No seats, but the seat brackets have finally shipped. So I'll get them while I'm away. So, but
Oh, that's good. You don't want them sitting out.
and no, I'll have somebody. My younger daughter, she flew down today. I took her to the airport today, and she's flying. I dropped her off here at Kennedy, and I'll drop her off in Charlotte on Sunday, and she's coming back. She's got to work. She can work remote, but she's got to watch the cats and all, so she'll be in the house by herself. So. Yeah, my niece will be here over the weekend. My daughter will be here next week, and there'll be someone here to get the stuff. But here's a tip for you. One of my old neighbors, I saw him at a party recently, and he turned me on to this site. It's Cigar Bid is the name of the site, and you bid on lots of cigars. So I'm like, okay. So I looked around. I didn't bid on nothing, and then I'm watching as they put out their lists, and a brand. It was a brand and type of cigar that I really happened to like. A lot of 10 of them came up, and these things sell for like $8 a piece. So it said the current bid was like $39, which is great. That's a great price. So I figured I'm thinking like eBay. So I put in a bid. I said, well, let me start. I figure they'll tell me if I'm outbid and I can increment it. I put in like $41.50 or something, $41.99. So I don't hear anything, for days and weeks. Like a week goes by, and it said the auction's going to go for a week. I don't hear anything that I'm outbid. I'm like, damn. And the starting bid was 39. I'm like, nobody else? Were they ever wait till the last minute? I get an email this morning telling me, yeah, you won the bid. I'm like, I won the bid. Nobody else won this. Then I go in and I look at the auction. 128 people won the bid. But what they did was, all the people, I guess the minimum was $39.95. About 120 people put $39.95 and won. And then like about 8 of us put 41, 45, 46, all the new guys, I guess. And we won it too. So now next time, just put in the bid that they asked for, and you probably get it. Because they just had, that small lot, but they had 1,000 cigars, not 10. So, yeah. Don't overbid is the name of that game. So I don't feel bad. I only, it was only a couple bucks. That was like $7 shipping and $4 in tax. So it'd be like $50, but still it's like, it's about $130 value. So it's still,
it's not bad. Still made good, but
no, it's still a good deal. Yeah. So yeah, and yeah, of course they're coming like tomorrow when I won't be home. So what are you gonna do?
Think they'll sit out in the heat of your mailbox till they get stale?
No, they'll put them on the front step, and like I said, my niece will be here, so she'll bring them in. I do a lot of stuff. I buy all my cigars online, and they always come wrapped really well. And like I said, I'm looking for I'm going to step up my humidor that's like a little refrigerator, because I did some research and they said everybody thinks the humidity is the key to keeping cigars fresh, and they said although that is a factor and it's true, temperature is even more important than humidity. So you get the little refrigerator guy, and he keeps the temperature set with the humidity. And so I was hoping that would be a Father's Day gift, but it wasn't.
Oops.
no.
Not enough hints.
I'll have to buy it myself.
I just have a question. How do you keep the humidity up in a refrigerator?
This is I'll send you the link and you can look at it. It's a special cigar refrigerator.
Okay.
So I don't think it keeps them terribly cold. And yeah, I mean, in refrigeration,
Probably.
the base of the refrigeration is to remove moisture, remove humidity.
Yeah, it would be too dry, I would think.
So they claim that the refrigerators will keep the temperature and humidity at the right level. And I think what it is if I read it right, if the temperature is kept stable, the humidity isn't as important.
Okay.
I think that's probably what it is.
It's probably like a combination of a humidifier, a dehumidifier type thing.
Maybe, because I keep them in like regular wood cedar humidifier, and I have a puck. I put water in it, and I have a humidity gauge. And sometimes it's like at 90, 100%. I thought, oh great. They said no, you really want to keep them at 70%. You don't want to go that high. So another project for another day when I get back, unless I find something down there. You know?
You might.
Be caught in it. Oh, I believe me, there's record stores I go to down there. Or I go record shopping, taking my daughter to the shooting range. We'll go and shooting. So, oh yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Maybe buy a house.
Maybe.
I'm looking at one, and I don't want it to get away. So, we'll see. I don't
How
know.
much into stock car racing are you?
I was never a big stock car guy. I was more of a stock car guy, Jim, when I was younger. So, like in the 70s.
Oh,
When cars looked like the cars on the street, and I still
Yep.
love watching old stock car footage. The newest stuff, when they became jelly beans, I kind of got away from it. I went into more, NHRA, just drag stuff. But yeah, I mean, talk about heaven for stock.
have you
cars.
been to the NASCAR Hall of Fame? It's right in the middle of Charlotte.
It's right there I've driven past it. The crosswalk is a checkered flag.
Yep.
It's really cool. The building is real swoopy. One of my friend's sons works there, so.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, maybe this time we'll actually get in. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I was on a business trip a couple of years ago, and I went in there, and it happened to be November. The season was already over, so there really wasn't anybody there. So basically, you just walked around the whole place, and no one was there. And for me, I'm a stock car fan. I loved every minute of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they go from the original beginning stuff, and they go all the way to today.
Oh, sure. Well, they have such a cadre of stuff that I'm sure stuff that's just been donated is ridiculous. But,
When we were down there, my uncle lives outside of Charlotte, and we used to go down there for the 600 and the Winston, and we used to go down all the time. And one time we went down, we went through, I don't know, Alan Kowicki's shop, Hendricks, all the Hendricks, drove out to, is it Mooreville? That's where they all are. Ricky Rudd, Mooresville. Yeah, that's where they all are.
It's kind of funny.
Ricky Rudd.
I was actually looking at houses in Mooresville, and everybody told me the same thing. Yeah, you'll get a kicking house with a kicking garage. I mean, you'll really get some good stuff. The problem is when race season's in, the main road that goes in and out, they said, forget about trying to travel local. You got to go every back road in the world. But there's a town just southeast of there called Concord. My buddy Rob Stuck.
That's where my uncle lives.
Yeah,
Concord.
So I get listings for Concord every day. So we're gonna really investigate Concord. But it is, I know where he is in Concord. He says, yeah, I hear the track. He can hear the
the track is in Concord.
And he can hear ZMAX. And Lou is just right above that in Kannapolis. So that's all up right in that triangle above Charlotte proper. Yeah. But like I said, we're looking a little further south, so we'll see.
The thing I enjoyed the most when I was there is they have an iRacing setup. We actually sit in the car, and let me tell you something, that very realistic.
Yeah.
So I get in, and I got into about 5 or 6 times. I think, okay, I'm doing pretty good. Then I got out and I looked up, and there's a scoreboard, and I'm like, wait, you're recording times? I got right back in. It's like, okay, I got to do better.
Yeah.
Then I come out, and there's another guy there, and one of the guys from the museum, from the Hall of Fame, is there. And it ends up there's about 10 guys, and what they do is they go in, they race each other.
Oh, yeah.
These guys are really good at it. And the one guy even told me, look, some are a little quicker than others. Like, well, which one's the quickest? He's like, the Kyle Busch one. He's like, Kyle Busch, really?
Yeah.
But I got in, and sure enough, I put three seconds off my lap time.
Nice.
So that was a lot of fun because, when you do that, you understand just how hard it is to drive a stock car.
Yeah.
You think you're just going in circles. You're not. It is so hard because you got to keep just the right amount of gas, just the right amount of brake, and just the right amount of steering put in because you go a little bit above it and you're in all.
I have a book, I think it's called The Physics of NASCAR. And this author sat with a NASCAR team and interviewed every member of the team. And that's how she got the sections of the book. So she sat with like the shock absorber girl, who her only job is rebuilding and sizing those shock absorbers. And, they went from, that book went down to the detail, thank you, of the decals on the cars. I guess, I don't know if they're still using decal, but when they were using decals, how they said they would actually cut the paint so the decal would sit flush. It wouldn't be raised for aerodynamics. I'm like, what are we talking about? Like a mill? But I mean, reading that book, I realized, holy shit, this stuff is so scientifically engineered. It's ridiculous. You never think that you just watch the guys on TV and you say, oh, look, another accident. But, and that's what everybody wants to see. Let's face it, but, I never realized how, I knew that it had to be involved. I didn't know it was that involved.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And then, like you said, you had those guys, like Smokey, and you had everybody. I mean, it doesn't matter just those guys, but those guys, stick out, and Abraham, everybody, and they just take something and just tweak it so much. They got to tweak. You got the words written is the law, but like I said, they tweak it, and you wouldn't imagine. That was like, I thought it was funny. This is something very similar. They had, I guess when the 928 S4 came out, and we had a big, premiere, and they were saying it was like the fastest street car, performance, street car, fastest car. And they're doing they're at the salt flats, and they're running the 928 across the salt flat, and and they got the helicopter, and we're all in the dealership, all in our little monkey suits and so forth, showing off with selling. But it was funny when they zoomed down on the car, you could see where they took foam and stuck it in the windshield, to keep the air from coming up underneath the trim, and like it didn't have any mirrors on the side of the car, and they had red tape. It was a red car, and they had red tape going across where the hood went, so there was no, gap, And I'm like, well, if you help, yes, maybe the fastest street car, but when you can do anything like that when you help it. You're helping getting a little bit more out of it,
I just watched the Smokey video last night where they said it was the same old stuff, just like you said, like where they said, his thing was he would take the rule book and study it and basically, learn how to work and live between the lines of the rules, and said, hey, you didn't say I couldn't do that. They gave the examples that everybody knows about. And it just shows you, like, when a guy is determined, you got to compete with that. And that's back in the ancient. See, I still like watching, when they had electrical tape on the steering wheels and the Hirsch shifters and it's like good old guys with arm out the window.
They have on YouTube, they have the Petty Brothers, and they have a weekly show, and they always bring some old timer out, some older guy. And it was funny. They had Richard Petty, they were talking to Richard Petty and his brothers. They were all sitting there, and this was like 1982, I guess it was, or 79, maybe what it was. But it was one of the sponsors had given us some kind of fuel additive. It was a fuel and thing, and it was funny because it must have been one of the first races Kyle had run, because he had told Kyle to dump the whole thing in the in the gas tank. Of course he dumps the whole thing. Of course the car blows up. So, and then all of a sudden, Richard turns around, and of course, Kyle's talking, the whole time, Kyle's talking about, man, I don't want to face my dad. I blew this motor up, the whole 9 yards. And it was kind of funny because, he's got that, scared, like he got to go face his dad. And his dad was like, well, I guess we shouldn't have poured the whole thing in there. That's what he said. It was just kind of funny about how he said, I guess we shouldn't have poured the whole thing in there. And he was like, I thought I was going to get my ass beat, because I blew this motor up, but it was just funny. But, like I said, those guys, they find anything, if they thought red paint was slicker than white, they painted, red,
Right.
So,
well, Smokey Yunick was the one that he was the most famous for being sneaky.
Right. Yes.
And sneaky.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was pretty good. Just like we always said in the Air Force, first learn all the rules, and then learn how you can cheat on them and not get caught.
Right.
And it worked somewhat.
So he said, if the book didn't say it, then I can do it. And that's
the best Smokey story was the '67 Chevelle at Daytona.
Right.
And he put it in. He's like, You guys figure. You tell me. And he's like,
Right.
hey, he even took like an adjustable template, went out into the parking lot, went on a stock 67 Chevelle, put it on his car, and it matched perfectly. And it was
Well, he
years
built
later,
the other
told
car.
me, it was a 7/8 scale model of a 67 Chevelle. It was a little bit narrower, a little bit smaller.
That was the same car where he said they flagged him for, he wasn't pitting the same as everybody else, and they checked the gas tanks. They took the gas tank out of the car, and then he gets in, starts the car, and drives away because he didn't say how long the fuel line could be, so he had like another 5 gallons of gas in the fuel line, so he could do extra. I mean, it's just stuff like that is like, yeah, that's just working outside the curve. Smart, super smart.
Hey, Keith.
Hey, what up, guys?
How you doing?
What's up, Keith?
Looking sexy.
Doing
Got
all right.
a little haircut action going
Got
on.
the haircut. I'm trying different ways to go. This way, that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Got my, my Thursday. Got the Thursday shirt on.
There it is.
yeah.
There it is.
That's how I know what day it is. Put the shirt on.
All right. There you go. I need to do that too.
Yeah.
Being on the road, man, it's hard to remember.
Yep.
Very true.
I don't know what day
So-
it is. What's the day? Thursday?
I retired and on the road. Yeah, it's like,
Right.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful life.
yeah, there's no reason to know what day it is.
Sure. Well, it's like now, like with this trip, we were saying, when we booked the Airbnb, for a little over a week, and I got the car for over a week, and I told my wife, I said, you know what? I said, we can extend this, right? She's like, yeah, I guess. If not, we can go to a hotel. I said, good. I can extend the car. I said, because if I'm not ready to come back,
Yeah, just stay.
we're just gonna stay some more. Just
No
why
reason.
rush? What am I rushing back for? It's just stay a little while longer.
Gentlemen,
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, Vince?
What's up, Vince?
Where you at, Vince?
evening
truck.
from Birmingham, Alabama.
Alabama.
So
Yeah,
that was
that-
one of my that was one of my considerations. We get this. I roll up on this car when they're cleaning it, and I see they had it in the wash bay, so they had it backed in. I'm like, good, no front plate, because I tell them I don't want a car with New York plates. I don't want Northeast plates when I'm going down south. Sorry, just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you don't want to stand out, Ray.
So they pull this thing out. Yeah, they just got to ask me, what's your name? So it's got Kentucky plates on it. I'm like, nice. I'll take Kentucky. Because now my wife is pushing for this Rogue. I'm like, I said to her, she goes, well, why not? Why can't we take the Rogue? I said, perfect reason. Look, it's got Jersey plates on it. I said, the only plates worse than New York or Jersey. I said, it was bad enough we had Massachusetts one year. That was like, I didn't want them to think I actually lived there. So I said, no, we're not taking Jersey plates. I'm sorry.
We'd never call you a masshole, Ray.
Well, no, but when you're on the road, people don't know you, so
Yeah. That going back a little bit, Ray. That first thumb drive I sent you
yes.
had a lot of that his book on there, which was read by John DeLorean.
And I just thought of that when I watched the video, and I have it here in my desk. I took it. I had it at work. I was going through all that music at work, and I brought it home here, and I gotta find it. I got bags of thumb drives. So
Yeah, there is there's probably 5 to 6 hours of audio on that, just on that one thumb drive of
yeah,
him
there's
talking
a ton of stuff.
him talking about stuff. Well, like Papa Squirrel probably knows, he was a B-17 pilot,
Okay.
and he understood aerodynamics, which was
In the bag of your thumb drives.
the the infamous Chevelle.
This one right here says Vince.
Well, there you go. He laid the windshield back, put the little hump on the back of the body right there before it dipped down. For the rear windscreen. Had the big fuel line in it. That he said that car had a belly pan in it.
Oh yeah.
He said that was the first time I'd ever tried a belly pan, and of course the car was so much faster than what everybody was expecting.
Right.
Again, he knew and understood the principles of aerodynamics, being that it was a B7, and he held a pilot. Once he got out of the Air Corps, because back then it wasn't the Air Force, it was the Air
It
Corps.
was the Air Corps, correct? Yeah.
And once he got out of the Air Corps, he ended up flying almost till the day he passed away. He'd loved to fly.
Yeah.
And if I ever get a chance to go to the NASCAR Hall of Shame, I'll definitely have to wear my best damn garage in town shirt, because Smokey Unick should have been on the first ballot, first try, but because him and Bill France Sr. and Bill France Jr. got into a big, well-known tiff in NASCAR, as long as the France family has anything to do with that Hall of Fame, Smokey Henry Unick will never be in there. Because
that's the bullshit. I mean,
well, that was the thing. He told, or that was the whole deal about the infamous 26, 21 gallon gas tank, with the basketball, and like Smokey said, he goes, I'm not the only one who did that. He says that was known to some of the more smart car builders. And then once Fireball Roberts got killed, he point blank said, he goes, I won't ever run anything but a fuel cell in my race cars from here out, period. I don't care. We're not playing this Mickey Mouse with the fuel game. He goes, all of my cars are going to have fuel cells. He's the one that came up with the idea of a smart wall, taking the tires and making an energy absorbent barriers and stuff. A lot of that was his ideas.
Right.
And again, he's just, the thing is, he worked for Mopar, he worked for Ford, he worked for Chevrolet, General Motors, because he worked with Chevrolet, Pontiac, when Bunky Nutza was in charge of Pontiac and all. So he primarily developed what was the Holley carburetor. He developed a lot of that. The engines, the dual gauge leak down tester that most people use as compression, as a leak down check. He developed a lot of that stuff. Problem was, he was working for people when he developed that, and what happens in the industry, stuff you're working on belongs to them, even though it was his idea, it was his brainchild. All of his stuff belonged to them. I mean, hell, he talks about how when he worked for Chevrolet, he goes, my gig with Chevrolet was $1,000 a month. That's what I made.
Wow.
He says, in 1957, when I left Ford or left Chevrolet because my contract had expired and they just kept on. And he's like, hey, we need to renegotiate my contract. And they kept, we'll get to it.
Oh, here we go.
He had a standing offer from Ford. He says, you whatever you want to do with a pushrod V8, we don't care. You want to go Indy racing, you want to go land speed, you want NASCAR, whatever. He goes, just use the Ford pushrod V8.
Right.
So when he got tired of the stuff with them in 57, he went, and he took what's his name? He just passed away not recently, I believe. Goldie. What was his name? He started off racing motorcycles and then ended up Paul Goldsmith. Paul Goldsmith was the driver for the last half of the stuff with Smokey, and he goes, when I went to work for Ford that first time, he says they gave me new dynos for the shop. He goes, new tow cars, new trucks. He goes, everything. He goes, I was making engineer level salaries. He goes, they flew me home from Dearborn. He goes, I've never seen the inside of a GM jet or airplane. He goes, Ford flew me home that night after he signed the contract with them. 3 years uncancelable. So that was, he was thinking, because, of course, he knew how volatile racing and all that would be, we don't need you, gotta go. But no, it's funny because you listen to a lot of that stuff, and then it talks about Carl Keycaver and the Chrysler locomotives, as he called them, and just like I said, I appreciate the idea of the NASCAR Hall of Fame, but like I said, they have just done Henry wrong. And
I knew we poked the bear with this one. I know if you were around, this was gonna
I talked to Smokey Unit for about 35, 40 minutes at the first PRI West show
Really?
out in San Jose.
Wow.
And me and a fella that KJ Jones is real good friends with, Ben Alameda. We were walking down the thing and we were talking about this, that, and the other. And Benny goes, well, let's ask Smokey because he's right there. And so we sat there and we had about a 35, 40-minute conversation about exhaust velocities and stepped headers and just race car stuff in general. Nicest guy in the world. He would have talked to us for forever. His wife kind of tapped him on the shoulder. He goes, Smokey, you got to go. You got to give a speech. So he's like, guys, I got to run, enjoy the show. When he was gone.
So when you speak to someone of that caliber, I mean, let's face it, you want to seem intelligent, you want to have intelligent questions, but you don't want to seem like you think you know it all, and you definitely don't want to say something that's totally incorrect. So how tense do you find those conversations that should be very easy and fun? Any of you guys, how tense does that make you when you're in that spot?
Believe me, Ray, I was very cognizant of don't say something stupid because this is Smokey Unit, because we read the books, knew about the history, and like you just said, in my mind I'm going don't ask something stupid. So I was listening more than I was asking.
Right.
And I would ask him just in a simple question, in your experience, A, B, just what did you see? And he, like I said, he was as nice as he could be. He did, answered every question we asked him. Didn't get snippy or nasty or short. We, went as technical as we wanted to go. And it was just like, that you answered a lot of our questions. We appreciate it. Smokey, thank you so much. And like I said, he's just like, guys, I got to go. And, they took off. And
what's really great is when you, the thing that I've had happen to me, I'd be talking to someone of that caliber, and you ask them a fairly pointed, detailed question that's not too long, fairly succinct, and the guy just doesn't give you, he doesn't go where you want him to go. He just says, "Oh yeah, well, we had one of our local racers, guy Richie Zool. He was knocking on Glidden's door. I mean, like he beat him a couple times, not regularly, but he would beat him, and he even bought one of Glidden's old cars, and they were fierce rivals. And Glidden always had the edge because he had the money, and Richie, being a local guy, was always fighting and scrapping and doing a very good job of it. So I did a lot of research on his cars, and this is stuff that he had done 45 years ago. I had the info. I had him live in the studio, and I said, Richie, let me ask you a question. That 66 Nova you had. And I ran through the specs on the car and what it had done, the best times and all. I said, how did you make that little 350? How did you get that thing like down into the high nines at the time, or tens, or whatever it was? And he says, well, Ray, that's a really good question. Because I know he had some speed secrets and tips in there. And he says, well, you know what you do? He goes, you build it, with the best of your knowledge. He says, and then it doesn't go as fast as you want, so you throw a different camshaft in it, and you play with the valve timing, and then then you change the intake, and then you play with a different carburetor, and before you know it, you're like, you're in the nines. I was like, you haven't been, you're not like an iota more forthcoming than you were 45 years ago, and this is old technology, man. Now guys are like, it's like that stuff is like obsolete, but it's like once a racer, always a racer. And it was kind of funny because of the comical nature. I mean, anybody who heard it knew that, I was asking a serious question, and he just gave me the royal blow off.
He tap danced around it like Fred Astaire.
45 years later, it's like, Richie, really? Come on, man, really? I gotta find that show. That was a good show.
Yeah, that one. There's one episode, or it in the meeting where he quit with General Motors. He was pushing General Motors Chevrolet for a bigger engine.
Yeah.
He goes, we're running a 265. The 283 had just come out in 57. He goes, everybody else is running bigger displacement. We need a bigger motor. The off season between 56 to 57, he got his hand. Of course, they were one of his R&D guys. He got his hands on some 4-inch bore small blocks. In 57, he made a 427 cubic inch small block.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
And he goes, I was chomping at the bits to talk to them, tell them, say, hey, I made, obviously with relatively stock or reasonable parts, we can, you guys can build a 427. And he goes, we got 500 something horsepower out of this motor back then with a single 4-barrel.
Right.
And he was chomping at the bits to get that. Hey, get this into the racing program. Get this into, and that's when it blew up. And
yeah,
and he'd had enough because as he tells it, he was, he's sitting there in the office, the guy's waiting room, and everybody and their brother comes in, and he's sitting there, he's there first thing in the morning, and he sits there all day, office meeting, board meetings. So they're like, oh, sorry, Smokey, stuff we had to handle it first thing tomorrow morning. We're sorry. He's like, okay, fine, whatever. He says the next day, same stuff. They're sitting there, putting him off. Guys are running in, and he's sitting there, and all of a sudden he goes, Bill France come bebopping around the corner and walked right into his office. And he said at that point I won't say what he said, but he was pretty pissed off about it.
Sure.
And then after that was when he sat there for a minute, and he walked over to the secretary, and he goes, so he scribbled down a phone number and handed it back to her. And he goes, when they get their head out of their butts and they want to talk to me, have them call me at that number. It was Pete DiPaolo with Ford's number.
Yeah.
that he scribbled and tossed to her. He says, if they want to talk to me, call that number there. And that's when he went and inked the deal with Ford.
Speaking of that 427, I know the fault when they had those big motors back then was really the bottom, the main webbing, just it would flex. So I just saw a video. Uncle Tony did it on Pontiac's overhead cam. It was overhead cam. It was like an SOCH. No, it wasn't overhead cam.
The 6. They did a 6.
This was an 8. It was an 8, and what they did was it was going to be the new it would have been like the Ram F5. But what they did was they put a Hemi head on it, and it was a Ford head. Because I thought of you. It was a Ford head from tunnel port motor, and they said the real trick was the bottom end. Again, even though they had the heavier webbing from the casting, they knew it wouldn't be enough for high RPM, 8,000 RPM is what they wanted to pull out of this push rod motor. So the Hemi head hung over the block, and the outside head bolts traveled down, and then they were I think it said they were 18 inches long, traveled down through the head and into the block, and then they drilled and tapped the girdles in the block, so that actually finally solidified the head and block combination. Now they could do 7,000. Of course, they were talking about producing it, but they didn't, and they used the Ford tunnel port engine as their pretty much their guide, what they used. They said, because even the Chrysler Hemi, they sank the crank lower or higher in the block, and they cross drilled, which looked super strong. But they said even that wasn't as strong as those outside, those 18-inch long rod head bolts. So
Yeah,
interesting stuff, and that was done back in the 60s.
Yeah, that's like the Ford, I forget what is it, the side oiler 427s and all. Those were 6-bolt mains.
Okay.
So that's when you get all the LS guys and they're 6-bolt mains and this, it's like 427 side oilers had that back in the 60s.
Yeah, they were talking about there's a Ford engine that they were talking about was that tunnel port, probably the 429. It came after the 427. They said it basically left the 427 in the dust with the technology they were using at the time. And those Ford tunnel ports, I just read an article on it. Brian's going to get it probably next month after I raise it out of the magazine. But I was reading on that tunnel port 429 motor. Holy shit! You almost pass limes through those ports, and you put it in the head, they would drop right through. That stuff was crazy.
Yeah, you look at like a 429 Super Cobra jet, or a the huge ports, the infamous 351 4-barrel Cleveland. and that's what you talk about Glidden. That's what, when he started running pro stock and stuff, that's what he was running, was at Cleveland. And they looked at some of the intakes and stuff that he had, where he basically took the intake and then just like welded and JB welded and aluminum welded and just, these what he could get his hands on, and then just ported the dickens out of them.
Yeah.
To the point where they would flow, 7,000, 8,000, 95, 9, just because they knew at that cubic inch, it's displacement or RPM. So, if you don't have a ton of displacement, you can usually try to make more power with RPM. So
sure.
But yep, I'm not sure why your stuff didn't come in Monday. That they told me it would be there Monday, and then they went, oh no, it'll be there the 30th. That's a big damn difference from Monday to the 30th.
I might be back by then, but maybe not.
So hey, enjoy your trip. There's a big Bass Pro Shop right there on what's his name? Speedway Boulevard. Bruton Smith Boulevard.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be scoping it out. I'll be busy. Like I said, a lot of stuff I want to do. I want to see my friend who's all the way up in Claremont. That's the guy who has the son that works for NASCAR. I mean, that's a day trip. So, like I told my wife, I said, if we really do everything we want to do, we're going to need more time. We're going to want to relax. So,
hey, you're retired.
That's it. We'll just take more time. That's all.
It's not like you got to run home Monday and go to work.
Exactly.
Well, guys, I didn't mean to monopolize the show. How was Rick Fairless, Lewis?
Great dude. Speaking of talking to somebody that's real easy to talk to, would be him.
Yeah.
He's a lot of the guys that I meet that are on that caliber are really easy to talk to, and it makes it easier to be relaxed to talk to him. You know what I mean?
Is he into coming on the show?
Well, we didn't really talk about it. He was kind of busy, so.
Yeah, well, I mean tonight. I mean, but in the future, would he consider it? That's cool. That's cool. I'd love to talk with him.
Yeah.
Ray, have you ever been to Wheels Through Time in Maggie Valley?
I passed that place every day when I was down there and kept saying, yeah, we got to stop in there. I have a shirt from my friend Kevin went, but no, I did not get in there, and I regret it.
I sent you a shirt, Knucklehead.
Well, I got 2 shirts. And I got 2.
Because I called you that one day standing in the showroom going, what size shirt did you wear?
Yes, you did.
Because I didn't want to send you a tent.
Right.
Because I'm a 2 or 3X, so I didn't want to send you a tent.
Yeah.
But no, that was unfortunately the day we were there. It was when the guy who opened that place was ill, and we talked to his son for quite a long time. And again, like you said, Lewis, real easy to talk to, nice guy. Any questions about what's in the museum and all that. We were looking at the hill climbers and stuff like that, and all the, special. That's like Garlett's Museum. You can spend a day there and just go, what the hell happened? Because it's like I didn't see it all.
Right.
Got an Evo up there that's got an ungodly amount of miles on it, like 100,000 or 200,000 miles on an Evo, and the guy. I mean, it's just like I said, you'll dig it. There's a lot of panheads, knuckles, shovels, just cool stuff.
No Kawasaki's though, huh?
Nothing JDM. It's everything in there's American. They'll have Indian Excelsiors. What's the 4? I mean, like I said, it's all American-made motorcycles. Flexible flyers. I mean, they just a lot of cool stuff from the turn of the centuries. Part of this deal when I came through here is I went by Barber Motorsport,
right?
And I'm like, man, I'd like to go to Barber. It's right there at Leeds, Alabama. It's like, man, same thing. I never have the time because I'm always on a truncated timetable.
Right.
So
yeah, that when I was driving truck, man, that it hit me everywhere I went. I wanted to go somewhere. I'm either going through at nighttime or I'm on a time schedule where I got to get somewhere. So I never get to see what I wanted to see. So that's why this here is perfect because I can go where I want to go and stay as long as I want.
Right.
and eat that up and enjoy it. How's the finger, Coach?
My finger's good. My finger's good. It pretty much was good up that day. I was just outside putting in a new sprinkler for the watering system.
I just sent you guys the Uncle Tony's video about that Pontiac engine that has all the Ford technology. So you get a chance, give it a watch. I think you'll find it interesting. If for no other reason, just for histrionics.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I was putting in another sprinkler head to get a corner of the yard that it wasn't getting.
Are you calling that the scorpion shower, or is that going to be like? Is that like for an outdoor, for a cooling station, or what?
I'm trying to get grass to grow. A lot of weeds are growing, but
You're better off going buying your grass and your weeds somewhere else and just calling it a day.
but it does work for cooling, and the dogs like it when I put it on. They run through it, but especially right now we need that cooling station because it's officially they said on the news it hit like 114 I think today.
Woo.
And my phone the weather app says it hit 111, but who knows? It's wonky at times, but yeah, we're in a heat spell right now. In fact, when I was outside, it said right now it's 103. When I was outside working on it, it was 106. And I mean, I waited till I was in the shade.
What's 3 degrees?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I
But,
watched.
I had a cooling towel on. I had a bandana on my head to keep my head cool. So
There you go.
keep that wet and keep my head cool. Try to get through
Watch, they'll think you're Middle Eastern. They'll still bomb your ass.
Well, you
Well,
won't be seeing me out that way until spring.
You
Or,
catch
fall.
blood. Yeah,
Yeah.
right, Lou. Stay away from there, man.
Yeah, fall. I head that way.
Yeah. I don't blame you. It's hey, anytime I've even been in California and run into people like they'll see I'll be wearing a University of Arizona hat or something. They'll be like, "Are you from that area?" And I'm like, "Yeah." This back in 2015, and we were over there in this May, June, and these people they said, "Oh, we're getting ready to move out there." And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome. When are you moving?" And they're like, "Well, in a couple weeks." And I'm like, "You're nuts." I'm like, "You don't want to move out right now. You want to."
Yeah, it's too hot.
They're like, "Well, we know it's the desert. It's hot." And I'm like, "No, it's a different kind of hot." I said, "What the best time to move here from anywhere in cool country? You want to move here November through February." And I said, "And then you have that time to acclimate."
And
I
then
said,
move
'cause-
out again in
Yeah, if you can come and live here for the cool months and then either go to northern Arizona or go somewhere else cool during the summer, then you got it planned out right. But if you're gonna be here during the summer, you definitely want to be here in the cool months and work on acclimating. So
Hope you can.
yeah, try to.
You gotta go through the cycles. You have to go through those heat cycles, and you got to go through the full thing before you really can acclimate.
Oh yeah, it takes a few years for people. Unfortunately, people come out here. I think it was about 8 years ago, and it was a real sad situation. But this lady, I guess, had come down from Alabama, and she was like, "Well, I'm used to the heat because it's hot and humid." And I guess she disappeared, and they went looking for her, and she was about 100 yards from the hotel that she was staying at. They found her. She had died.
Wow.
And I think she went out. I think they said she went out for a walk around 10 a.m.
Oh.
And it just every few years, 5 years or so, something like that happens, and it's just unfortunate. You know, this time of year, you don't. I mean, there's people that hike, but it's best recommended you don't hike this time of year. You don't anything you do like that, going out for a walk or whatever. You either do it real early or real late in the day. Honestly, real late in the day is not that good either. You want to do it like 4 in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning, and be done by 6, no later than 7.
Yeah.
I'll just not do it at all, and that'll be safer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just try to stay indoors. I mean, other than when I have camp, I stay indoors and do any housework I do. If it ain't first early in the morning or late at night, anything I got to do outside, I do anything indoors. And then I mean, even like I said, I was in the shade and I started having trouble with the heat. And I came in, drank some electrolytes, drank water, and then got the bandana and wet it down. I wet it down 3 times while I was working out there, you know, and kept it wrapped around my head.
Yeah.
You know, if I had to be out in the sun, because I've had to work out in the sun before, you keep a bucket of water and you keep a long sleeve shirt and you dunk it in the water and then you put it on. And that warm oven blast of a breeze, when we get a breeze here, and until when the monsoons hit, it's different. You get a cool breeze when they're hitting, but right now, when it's hot and dry, it's like an oven blast. But the one trick is if you put on a long sleeve shirt, you know, like a flannel shirt or whatnot, and you dunk it, you soak it in water and you put it on, when that breeze hit, it almost freezes you. It actually feels nice.
Yeah.
But that's how hot it is.
When I was a kid, I used to work out in that stuff, and I would never be able to do it now. I could do heat a lot better when I was 15, 16 years old.
Yeah. No, I agree. Unless you're in it all the time as you age, it's harder the older you get. And I remember being a kid, we used to run around out in the, I mean, we'd run shirts off and everything, and it was no big deal. And it didn't, you know, my dad would say, get you a towel to put on your head or something, or get you I remember one time I went working with him and he said, you need to bring you a flannel shirt. And I said, it's hot. Why am I going to put flannel on and long sleeves? And he says, you do it to dunk. You dunk it and it'll freeze you. And I said, you're crazy, old man. I ain't doing that. There was the one time I got heat sick and he threw a flannel on me that was that he had dunked. And it made me a believer.
Right. Well, that's how you believe it. You see it as believing.
Hey, when I was a kid, they used to get on to me about not wearing a hat.
Yep.
I didn't wear a hat, but I figured out why I didn't have to wear a hat. When I had hair, they used to call me a white afro. I mean, I had thick, curly hair. Now, no.
That'd be a good look for you.
Yeah, no.
Papa Squirrel says, "Aloha."
Right. Right. Oh boy.
How's the bus running, Lewis?
She's doing pretty good. I can't complain. Just slow as dirt.
Your mileage hasn't bumped up any?
No, I'm still around 9.
Hey, like that 32-foot pusher I had, I got 9 with it, running about 65, and I would take that all day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
For, you know, like I said, you know, when they're shaped like a loaf of bread and 12 something foot tall, 9 is not bad at all. That is not bad at all.
That's like my box truck that my daughter's getting is we get 8 to 10 depending.
Mm-hmm.
It's a square brick.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, just there's nothing aerodynamic about it.
Hey, I found out, you know, I found the best use for 2-year-old conditioned gas that you had laying around for the snowblower that you never had to use, but it's been sitting in the garage for 2 years. Rental car.
There you go.
You know what? I'll tell you, I conditioned it with StarTron, and I left it closed. Guys, I watched the guy on the internet was saying, when you have gas jugs like that, the pressure changes inside due to the heat. And the question was, should you vent them and or leave them put? And his contention was, no, leave them put. It'll expand and contract by itself due to the temperature. And when you vent it, you're letting out
Chemicals.
molecules too, and things. And so, and I didn't open this thing for 2 years, but I opened it today and poured it in this rental kit. And I tell you, it didn't smell flat. It didn't smell varnishy. It smelled like gasoline.
Well, you didn't buy it from California, I guarantee you.
No, I mean we got the ethanol crap here too, but I conditioned it. That was the thing. I conditioned it and then didn't open it. So
Yeah.
I'm sure on top of 20 something other gallons, it's going to be fine. But I was going to put it in my Fiat, but rental car got it.
There you go. You're
I
supposed
think
to put it
that's
in
a
when you get
smarter
back.
idea.
What's that, Louis?
You're supposed to put it in when you get back to fill it back up to the
Fill
line.
it back up. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the opportunity and I took it.
There you go.
So I was talking to Ray a couple days ago about maybe putting a vintage air in the bus because it's hot, man. I mean, I can't get no relief with this heat.
Have you called them?
Yeah, I called him and he wants me to do some measurements to see
Right.
what it looks like.
Right.
They have so many different units
Oh yeah.
and setups, so I got to see what might work for this.
And obviously, you're going to need a big condenser, but they make them.
Well, not really, because I'm not going to try to cool the whole bus, just the front cab. I'm going to put a curtain up, just
Curtain,
the
yeah.
front part.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that might be doable then.
You got the twin fans up by the windshield?
What do you mean?
Just fans just sitting there,
Oh,
just blowing on
yeah.
you.
I took them out. I should have put them back in.
Believe it or not, that made a big difference in that pusher I had when I like you said, kick that air on for the driver front two seats, and I throw those fans on because it's like a fishbowl. You're sitting there, you got the big glass and yeah, it's I would throw the fans back in it.
I have them too. They're waiting for me in the tent.
Well, like I said, if you can get it cold and then you're circulating that air with the, once you get it refrigerated, or as Ray was saying earlier, it removes the heat. It doesn't make it cold. It removes the heat.
Removes the moisture. Right. Yeah. So
Summit Racing also has a couple different companies. One is Universal Air. So I just got to find out what's going to work on my motor, like the pulley.
I'll tell you something. My friend Paul put a system in his GTX, and it's not vintage. He says he likes this system better. I think I took a picture. Let me look at my phone here.
Is there some kind of a electric AC you can put in there? Because you have the batteries, right?
Yeah, I do. I need to look for that. Yeah, that might be a plan.
That'll be that.
Everything
Wiring
I've
and
ever-
hooking up is easier, I would think.
Everything I've ever read said that you really can't air conditioning with batteries because an air conditioner just uses so much current or energy.
Mm-hmm.
They do it in electric cars, so but I bet they use some of the
Yeah,
use the big battery. Yeah.
Most of those kits from the electric cars come out of a Prius.
Yep.
Prius,
yeah.
just because
Threw the parts out. I had the parts.
Just because of the cost and the availability, and believe it or not, the Prius itself from Toyota, they've worked all the shit out of them. Like I said, that's like the electronic steering, all that stuff, and the air conditioning, all that stuff is really high demand in the aftermarket world, just because there's so many of it and they don't have a problem.
Yep.
And they work. The biggest thing with, like I said, with the you could one of the things you could do about, especially you can isolate the electric system and you can run it off your drive shaft. You have a pulley belt, and the compressor in the back, and you have a belt off your drive shaft. That way, because you're only using that when you're driving it. when you're up front driving. So when you're moving, you have that, and you don't have any. You have plenty of room underneath to put any of that stuff anywhere, and have that, and you could do something like that also. You know, that's one thing.
Traffic. That's when you sit in traffic.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
but you're also hopefully you're not sitting forever. But like I said, you have your condense. You have the condenser. You have air blowing. I mean, it's
it would still be cold for a little bit. Yeah,
you're
Louis,
still doing it.
Is your diesel in your bus straight 6 or V8?
6.
Straight? Oh hell, you can get air conditioning for that easy, because my box truck is a 466 turbo diesel, and the compressor's on the front of the engine, and it does a very good job of cooling things down.
Yeah, that's just like my box truck's the same way.
You got a DT 466 now, don't you, Louis?
Yeah.
Yep.
Same motor. Same motor
same
Papa Squirrel's talking about. DT 466. It's a great motor.
So what I was thinking is maybe look for a straight truck or a box truck, the 4800, and take all that stuff out. Take the gearing out of the back, take the air conditioner, all that. Brackets, get everything, then junk the rest of the truck. So
All
I'm just
right,
putting
guys,
out all
time
my...
for me to bill.
All right, Jim.
Hello, Jim.
See y'all next week.
All right, have a good weekend.
Yeah, like I said, I got a compressor off to the side bracket. Like I said, it's fairly simple doing that way if you have the room, but the electric is also, that's another way of doing it.
Yeah.
I know one of the videos I watched on the electric, they say you got to upgrade your alternator, but it has some type of an inverter it goes through. But outside of the electric, the compressor, you can hook up to all your other AC components. I watched a video where the guy, he had it on his race car. He was in New Zealand. I think that's the video I sent you a while back, Keith.
Yeah.
He had it all hooked up to his knobs on his dash, all the factory knobs. Now on his, because he had changed the motor and it was like a drift car or something like that, or a road course car, but he had changed the motor. There wasn't enough room in the front, and he had put the condenser in the back underneath the trunk. But as he was talking about it, he said you could use the factory condenser. You can use all the factory components. You just got to upgrade the alternator, and then have lines made for it.
So that guy was using 12 volts?
Yeah, he was off a regular 12-volt system. But when I looked at that system, when I looked at it online, because on the video, I'll send you the video, Louis, but when I looked at the video, there's a link to the company he used that he got his stuff from, and I'm pretty positive there was like some type of a little inverter box that took the 12 volts and then bumped it up.
All right, guys, I'll tell you what, I'm going to invert myself out of here and take an early leave because I'm going to get to bed so I can get up early and hit the road.
All right, Ray, have a safe trip.
Okay, Ray.
Yeah, take care, Ray.
Watch out for those other drivers.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Watch out for those state boys.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm cool in Virginia. So for all you fluent texters, I'll be driving all day. So if I may not get back to you right away if you text me, so I'll catch up later. So,
all right, Ray.
All right, send me a link next week, Louis. I'll see if I can get on Thursday, and if I'm not doing something else fun or whatever, and whatever.
Sounds good.
And I will see you guys when I see you. Brian, I'll see
Stay
you.
safe, Ray. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Take care, Ray.
So look.
See you later.
All right, Ray.
Bye.
See you. Be safe.
Right.
Yeah, so the Prius, it looks like it uses the high voltage battery, like 200 volts, and then it has an inverter to step. I don't know. Inverter controls frequency. Inverter, to change its AC.
I know when I pulled the compressor out of the Prius at the junkyard, there was like an inverter box, and I didn't know what it was, so I was like, I don't need that. I should have grabbed it and then figured out what I needed and didn't need later. But
Yeah, that is the only thing. I hear a lot of guys because they're going to say, "I want to put the electric steering in my car," and they go through and pull, and then of course they forget to get the module or the controller.
yeah,
And like I said, especially some of the stuff, or they unplug it and they don't get the harness ends,
Yeah.
that type of thing. But I know with the Prius and what's the other one, the Ford, was it? Is it the Edge? No. What is it? The Fiesta, the electric car, the little Ford.
Yeah, I think it's Ed.
Whatever, because I should have taken it. One of the guys at the Ford dealership, they had stripped one, and he goes, "You want to put electric steering in a Mustang?" And I said, I wasn't really thinking of it. And he goes, "Oh, well, if you want," I mean, he had a pile of them, of all that electrical stuff, and he's not there anymore. Should have grabbed one.
Makes you wonder, though, why did he have a pile of them?
Huh? Because these cars get trashed because when the transmissions go out of them, and they don't want to spend $7,500 for a transmission for a car that's only worth $4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So they strip them. I mean,
I think
I got a shop right now. They got a whole problem because the guy said go do the transmission. He's like, dude, I'm telling you, you're going to spend $6,000 for a transmission, and the car's not worth. I mean, you have if we get this thing back together, and you need a main battery, you're looking at another $6,000 for a main battery box, And the guy's like, "Well, I can't buy a new car." And he goes, "Well, you're putting $4,000 into this pimp. You're putting $6,000 in now."
Yeah.
Brian, that sounds like some of the nonsense they were having with those Nissan CVT transmissions.
Yeah.
They would take a dump and they go, "Okay, well, it's like $4,000 or $5,000 for another transmission, and it's no better than what took a dump and it's not working now."
And like I said, so these guys, like I said, some people understand that, and some people are just dumping money after money into them.
Yeah, they don't get it.
Well, they want to save the environment.
No, they think they're saving money. They think they're, but
they wanna hug a tree. We got a bunch of trees out here. They're called saguaro.
As I call them, leaf lickers. A bunch of leaf lickers.
You can't do it right, but you can do it again.
They're welcome to come hug all the saguaros out here.
Yeah.
They got spines about that long.
Oh.
So, but yeah.
Lewis, call that boy outside of Atlanta.
Yeah, I keep coming back to the. I think I'm gonna have to.
He's probably got 98.6% of the stuff you're needing, from the air conditioner to the rear gears to a transmission, or he, like I said, they could probably, whatever avenue you want to do. If you want to change the transmission, put some more gears in it, or just drop the gear and put a like I said, you looked at the website, they've got tons of that stuff in there, and it's all Class 7, Class 8, primarily what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
So you're talking about possibly putting a manual in there too, right?
If I could find one at the right price, I would.
Yeah.
They got pallets of those too, because I've been in the warehouse when I went to get my. It's so funny. The hot rodding world calls it an intercooler, but in the trucking world they call it an charge air cooler. It's the same thing. All it does is it takes the boost air, the boosted air, and cools it down. So
I think I'm gonna put a new radiator in. I'm gonna change the charger too at the same time.
Yeah. That's. You have a boost gauge on that thing?
No, but I'm gonna add one.
Do a dual pyrometer too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And,
Those will surprise you when you put one of those on.
Scare the hell out of you. Going, oh
Yes,
God,
they will.
I didn't know it was that hot. But I'm kind of like Ray too. I got to get up about 6. I gotta be at this job site at 7 in the morning to drop this stuff off. So
Okay.
I'm gonna dip off out of here myself. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to see you as all. Stay safe.
Yes, sir.
We'll
Take it
see
easy,
you guys
Vince.
next week.
All right. See you later.
Vince.
All right,
Take care. Be safe.
All right, thanks, folks. Everybody, what's the right button?
Yeah, Molly called and she said they lost power and they don't know when they're going to get it back. So that means I got the freezer I thought I was going to get rid of. Now I have to move it back, get it plugged in, and get it ready because she says she's bringing her food
Bring
over.
your stuff over.
I almost got rid of it. I mean, I want to get rid of this thing because it's real estate in the garage, dude. I tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, I got rid of my garage fridge. I'm like, I don't use it. It was empty the whole time. I'm like, sold it.
I got
Now
my
my
Thursday shirt too.
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah, exactly. It's a Thursday shirt.
Hey, you guys representing, boy. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I got a garage fridge that I know, and the freezer. It's just it's the same size as a fridge. It's just all freezer. There's no refrigerator part. You know, it's upright, and it was awesome. And like I said, back in the day, we used to keep that thing stocked. You know, like I said, and it just over the years, especially when everybody moved out and you know the whole 9 yards, but just not saving stuff. You know, I'd go buy a half a cow and put in there for beef wise. You know, and we all changed all that. But, I finally said, hey, do we really need this anymore? And they were like, we don't really use it. And I'm like, I'm like,
out of here.
For space, And now it's like the wife just came down. She said, we're going to need that freezer. And I'm like, I was like one step closer to going out.
I used to have a mother-in-law that in her house in Florida had 5 chest freezers.
What?
Wow.
5. She was a hoarder. And her old man got on to me one day because I didn't tell her early enough that we were coming back to eat supper. And he got on to me about causing her problems. And I'm thinking to myself, you hypocritical bastard. You got 5 freezers in the garage, and all that shit is getting freezer burned.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I know what you mean, Brian, about them moving out, and because now that my daughter's in Phoenix for the semester, we went grocery shopping the other day, and I think we overbought. We'll be fine with food for a little while.
That's the problem. I get the. You need to adjust your buying because Emma's going back to school or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, or Emma will be here next week, so you got to adjust. Because like the first week she came back, I had shopped like it was just 2 of us, and it's like some people were out of food by Wednesday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
that's why you send her out to shop.
Yeah, well, only problem with that is they all come back with stuff that you're not supposed to. So,
yeah.
Well,
I'm kind of strict about that. That's why it's funny. I do the shopping for my mom. And I started that back in COVID when mom and dad were in the house, and it's funny because one of my daughters will go over to my mom's and she'll say, bring some ice cream, or something because your dad won't buy that stuff, She gets, she's kind of funny. She's like, your dad won't buy me that stuff. So bring me some ice cream. So
when my daughter's home, her boyfriend would come to hang out, and he loves any chance he can come over. He loves coming and eating, and eat. I mean, he'll eat like crazy. He's like like he ain't never had food, and but he loves Mexican food. So like we'll have tacos and stuff, and he'll say, hey, is your dad gonna cook? I want some Mexican food. And she goes, you know what we call that in our house? And he goes, what? She goes, food. It's just food. but
Yeah.
yeah, I would mess with him though, because I'd get home from coaching and he'd be in there wrapping up a burrito or something. I'd be like, why is it every time I walk in here, this hippie's in here, this young hippie kid, this long hair hippie kid? Man, it's this world coming to you. You just walk up in people's houses and start rolling burritos and stuff. But no, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. I wouldn't give him a hard time if he wasn't a good kid. But
well, that's like you said, Coach. It was funny because somebody said, "Oh yeah, your girls must eat like birds," and I was like, "You got that wrong, dude." Because I got one soccer player, one's a swimmer, and one's a dancer. You know what I'm saying? And all that, man. Those kids,
and eating like birds is a wrong answer. If you ate like a bird, you'd be constantly putting